So, breaking news, QPR have officially announced that ZAN CELAR has left Queen's Park Rangers to FC Basel for 1.5 million. Obviously, it wasn't QPR that announced the price tag. It was actually Fabrizio Romano, who was bang on Twitter this afternoon, the 17th of July. But yes, ZAN CELAR obviously has been confirmed that he's left QPR to join FC Basel after spending two seasons with us. Now, did he actually spend 2 seasons with us? Not really. He was not been exactly great for QPR in the last couple of seasons since we've signed him, to be honest. Look, ZAN CELAR, you know, went on loan last season to FC Dusseldorf and had a pretty much nightmare, you know. I'm generally not happy to see a player how he was treated, you know. In the way he was treated at the start of the season last season, you know, I've honestly thought, you know, with Marty Fuentes gone and Julian coming in, I thought he was going to get the opportunity to basically prove himself under Julian, but I just don't think there was enough time there to do so. Now, I don't know if it was Julian that made the call or Christian Nuri, but it was a bit of a weird scenario for me because, you know, for a guy that's just had a kid and then obviously getting sent out on loan to a different country with a newborn, I think it's a bit unfair. ZAN CELAR came into QPR under Marty Fuentes for 2 million, like I said, when Christian Nuri was here. And he was brought in to basically do what he did at Lugano. You know, he killed it at Lugano, he's dominating it, he's packing in the goals. We didn't get the same player, you know. I said this constantly, and everyone on this channel that watches my watch-alongs and my videos, and anyone that's a supporter of the channel, knows how much I like ZAN CELAR. You know, I wouldn't say I brag about him too much, but for someone like me that watches a lot of football, you know, I watched ZAN CELAR when he joined Roma at a young age. You know, he killed the youth level at Roma, and he was a big prospect as a Slovenian player as well. Very tall player in the box, and he was very quite pacey to be that type of figure in the box to score goals. Absolutely phenomenal player as a young age. You know, he banged the goals in for Roma, he did as a youth level. He did get into the first team for appearance, but it wasn't a great first appearance, so it does say a lot, kind of a little bit. You know, look, as a young age, you get thrown into the deep end in the Serie A, is very strong. For what he did in youth level at Roma, very impressive. You know, I was very fond of it. When obviously Roma sold him, and obviously he didn't join Lugano straight away. He actually went to a different club, which was not exactly a great success as well. But when he did go to Lugano, he killed it. You know, he was dominating games, he was scoring goals, and that's pretty much what they bought him in for. And for a cheap fee of 500k, what a bargain, you know. Now obviously this is where I've obviously said to everyone why I like him, you know. ZAN CELAR, the reason why I feel like he didn't succeed under Marty Fuentes and at QPR at the time when he was brought in, was Marty Fuentes has this different style of play. You can sit here and say that they're two different players, you know. Michy Frey and ZAN CELAR are way two different players. Michy Frey is a deep line forward, where ZAN CELAR, I think, is more of an advanced forward, or a poacher, as I would say. Marty Fuentes would always be a guy that wants to see the crosses go into the box for the player. Now, that's great for ZAN CELAR, but not all the time. You know, ZAN CELAR is a type of player that likes the ball played in front of him or through to him, so he can use his pace and his strength to get the goals that he did Lugano and Roma days. You know, a lot of people probably haven't seen the Roma days. I'll throw in a couple of links at the bottom there just so you can see that, as well as Lugano, and you'll probably see why I constantly explain it in this way. You know, Marty Fuentes obviously played as a deep line forward, and it suited Michy Frey a lot. And that's why I feel like ZAN CELAR did not proceed to be that great striker that we wanted to see out of him at QPR. You know, I highly rate him. I've always said this, and I'm going to keep repeating myself. You know, I like the type of player, what he is. You know, now under Marty, like I said, not great, but I generally thought under Julian Stefan, it would be a different call. You know, ZAN CELAR did prove a little bit of it in the Marty Fuentes days when he scored great goals against Cardiff City. But when it came down to Julian, I thought, you know what? I feel like he's such a player for him, you know, because Julian likes to have a forward with a bit of pace and strength that likes to run onto the ball. And that is what ZAN CELAR is. ZAN CELAR was that guy, you know, and he was also great in the box as a poacher. But unfortunately, there was something there, I think, that wasn't given enough time for ZAN CELAR to prove himself to Julian or Christian Nuri. And that's when a decision was made where he was sent out on loan last season to Dusseldorf. And that wasn't great either for him. Unfortunately, Dusseldorf wanted to get rid of him in January because he just was not performing and scoring goals. Unfortunately, QPR rejected it. You know, he stayed in Germany, I think it was, and it just ended there. You know, I thought probably at this start of the season, what we're in right now, he could have given another chance, but it seems like maybe ZAN CELAR was not up for it as well. Julian probably didn't see any plans of him. Look, we didn't take him on pre-season tour. We didn't at Austria. And we took enough strikers with us. And that proved kind of that he was on his way out, especially when they announced on Twitter what players were discussed in contracts. You know, obviously, like I said, ZAN CELAR I thought would have been a great Julian player, as he likes to play that ball pretty much in front of him or to his feet out on the run. You know, he was very good in the box as a poacher, and I hope one day someone sees this again. You know, hopefully he could do the business at FC Basel, and hopefully we can be proven wrong so some of our fans can understand what we missed. You know, because when I truly sit here and say what a player he was as a young stage, it was brilliant watching him. It was just great. With him gone, it obviously is going to bring in a bit of money to bring in a bit more quality in an area that we need. Hopefully all the best for him in the new career at FC Basel. Hopefully he proves us all wrong. And I generally will probably be catching up on him and seeing what he does there and going from there. Now, I did bring this up a couple of days ago where... well, actually not even a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, where Diarra left as assistant manager to go find head coach roles. Now, there's been no news of him actually joining a club yet as a head coach, but there has officially been progress a couple of days ago where QPR confirmed that Kevin Betsy has officially been confirmed for the new season as Julian Stefan's new assistant. Now, he moves from his special role to there, and obviously there's been talks of a set-piece coach coming in and Steve Bold coming in to place Kevin Betsy's old role. Don't know if that's completely true or not, but yes, Kevin Betsy has officially been confirmed as the new assistant for the season. Now, I did mention this in one of my videos and shorts where Kevin Betsy could have been a good call for it. I did call it. Kevin Betsy has done a phenomenal job at QPR from coming in under Marty Fuentes under a special role in progressing young talent, and not just young talent, our first team as well, where he has obviously drawn out not just abilities but roles and pretty much, how's the way to say it, accomplishments, you know, for players to achieve their goals in their certain areas and what they want to do and what they want to become in the next season. So Kevin Betsy was this guy which was brought in from Cambridge, and he was very highly rated, and he's done a phenomenal job with the youth development and the first team in his role with what he's done. I highly rate him. I think he's brilliant. I think he's great. And I think he proved it most when Marty Fuentes obviously was dismissed, and under the last game of the season where Kevin Betsy took the role of temporary head coach under Xavi as assistant. We beat Sunderland 1-0. Nicholas Madsen scored the only goal in that game, and it was a very great performance, dominant performance, and defensive. So in my opinion, Kevin Betsy has shown already in one game what his qualities and what he's capable of doing. Now, there must be a reason why Julian has probably requested this, why him to come in. Now, obviously, there was choices between that or bringing in someone in from a different club. Now, Julian has had success at Strasbourg and Rennes in 2 different seasons where he had the same assistant working with him. Now, the name of that assistant is Mathieu Lescornet. I can't pronounce it correctly, but he followed Julian from Rennes to Strasbourg, where they have had successful careers. Now, in my opinion, this was probably one of my biggest shouts that I could have said, which I would have loved at QPR. You know, with Julian Stefan, he gets on with everyone. You know, he has that Marty Fuentes connection where he just is a lovable character. You know, a lot of people at QPR probably didn't really find him great at the start of the season, but I've always stuck by him. I love the character of Julian. I think he's a brilliant head coach. But to have an assistant with him that he's worked with before and progress would have been brilliant for us, you know, because he's used to that guy. He has chemistry, and it should have worked well, and it would have worked well. But Kevin Betsy is obviously taking that role now. There's a reason for it, and I reckon Julian has obviously thrown that opportunity in there, not just to be assistant, but to learn under Julian as well, because we all know Julian obviously has just signed a new contract with QPR. Will he be here forever? We don't know, but Kevin Betsy has an exciting future, whether he does decide to move on to the club, to different teams, to different areas, or even a different role. He would probably be linked with QPR as well if that eventually ever happened, if the worst come to worst under Julian Stefan. Now, I don't know the playing style of what Kevin Betsy is, but I would sit here and say that he could possibly work under Julian with defensive issues as well. A lot of work needs to be done is what I'm trying to say. And hopefully Kevin Betsy, Julian and the rest of the backing team can sort this all out before the season starts. You know, we've got a couple of pre-season more games this couple of weeks before the season starts, and before we have Millwall at home in the Carabao Cup. But I'm genuinely excited for this move. I think Kevin Betsy, I've shouted it already, I'm excited. It's going to look like a good season, I think. And hopefully you guys think this is a good move as well. Let us know in the comments below what you think of Kevin Betsy being appointed as assistant manager. And hopefully we can see something great. But apart from that, that's all the news for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to. And as always, peace, love, positivity. We'll catch you for the next video.